right, so we are going to be talking about humanity and composition. And I'll try and make it as quick and simple, as easy as I can, but knowing me, it's probably not going to be the case. Okay. Also forgive the darkness. My ring light went out, so we're just gonna play it just like this. So when we talk about humanity and composition, what I mean by that is two parts. One, the human within the work, and the compassion that comes from said work, right? So when I'm talking about humanity and composition, I'm kind of talking about these two pieces. One, the human, and two, the consequences of our actions when we're not applying said humanity, if that makes any sense. So we'll try and clarify that as best I can. When I think of compassion, I think of my moral compass and how my goal as an instructor, as a person, as a being on this earth is recognizing I'm not the only person in the world. Sometimes I forget that, but I'm trying to remember that there's other people who exist. And oftentimes my actions create a reaction or consequences to those around me. It could be anything. It could be my attitude when I'm driving or, towards somebody at a coffee shop or something. I don't know. It could be my actions of, like, say I am throwing, I don't smoke, but lit cigarettes out the window or garbage or everything that I do ultimately has a consequence to it, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. So the reason why I say this is, as an instructor, my goal is to create the best future for you, whether that is my actions in what I offer to you or what I give to you as a tool to create something, right? My goal is for you to be successful. So to be successful, you have to have, opportunities in the future. That being the case, I know, I promise you guys I'm going somewhere with this. When I think of compassion, I think about the reason why, let's just get to the point. The reason why I hate the idea or the use of AI, most specifically in composition, is it completely takes away from the whole point of composition as a whole. Composition is human. It is the thing that we use to connect one another with an understanding of what it's like to be a human, right? When we talk about, later you'll see the video from Brene Brown about vulnerability. Vulnerability creates community. And you're going to notice that when we start working on our narrative project and you start to see other students' experiences in the world. Sometimes these experiences, we create a certain level of compassion or understanding or empathy or maybe even shock, like, wow, I could not imagine living that experience. Or, oh, me too, I feel that. Whether it's something good, or I don't know, good's not the right word, something that creates a happiness or an excitement, or something that creates a sadness or a sorrow, right? These are very human things that when you share with someone, feels really good. Whether or not it's a good feeling, to feel the connectedness with another human being is very important. My favorite thing, I have a hobby, and that hobby is puzzles. Absolutely love puzzles. I'm a super nerd. Like, I'm doing 1,000-piece puzzles by myself because it feeds something inside me. But I'm not the only one. I know other people do have this because my best friend has very similar taste when it comes to her passion for puzzles. And we get to share that back and forth, whether it's sharing puzzles, sharing videos or memes or whatever the case. And this is why social media is so addicting, because we're sharing experiences with another. Me too. Like, I feel seen. Look at me. Like, that's just human nature, right? And that is the goal of this class, is to help understanding human nature. And what takes away from human nature is the use of a machine to do the work for you. This is why I push so much against it. And also, twofold, it kills the environment. It kills humanity. It's obviously, it's a pollution to the, noise pollution, air pollution, soil, water, you name it, we got it, right? It's throwing off the migration of the birds and the bees in which we need to create food, which keeps us alive. Like, we cannot live outside of nature. So if we know we can't live outside of nature, how can we take care of nature, right? Like, that should be something we should all think about, just, kind of like if you, anyway. I am not going to restart this video because I lost my train of thought. So we're just going to keep going. Okay. So again, AI is killing humanity on multiple levels. And we can talk for hours about how it's terrible for agriculture, blah, blah, blah. It's in my notes, whatever. We get that. The key thing that we want to pay attention to is the ultimate demise of humanity with brain rot. Like, we got enough brain rot with our scrolly scrolls. And trust me, I scroll sometimes and I'm like, I pull away from my phone. I'm like, oh, that was unhealthy amount of time on my phone. You know, I get excited because I'm sharing experiences and blah, 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 right? This is why social media has, such a following, because it's so addicting, because we're sharing our, humanity. Anyway, okay, so we're going to get past that. We're going to talk about really quick why AI itself is actually harmful for your future beyond the environment. Okay, we're just going to get beyond that. So obviously, AI hasn't even been around enough for us to have the kind of research we need to really understand the longevity of, the longevity to see what the consequences are, whether that's for environment or for our mental health. The scary part is the little amount of research we do have, it ain't good, my friends. It's not good. That's just the truth. And so we just have to be mindful. And again, I'm not going to play a whole devil's advocate about how great it is in these things. Like, I get it. I totally get it. There's tools that are great. There's a lot of potential for it. We're just talking about it in the context of composition and humanity within our classroom, right? So again, you guys like, well, I use it for this and I use it for that, and I got to make all these pictures, and that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the way in which it steps in and not only pulls out the humanity of composition and creativity and art and music. Yeah. It really takes away from some incredible creativity that human beings are capable of. So aside from that, if we're going to say, I don't care about the environment, I don't care about agriculture, and frankly, I don't care that I'm cheating in class, right? Because obviously using AI is unethical because you're using the work of another thing or person and you're pulling information from, but not using your own information. Even if it's sitting there and it's grading all of your stuff, it's changing all the words, it's changing the way in which you'd originally written it. This is again why I push so hard against it, is it takes away the you. It takes you away from your work. I want you in your work. I just want you. I just want you in your work, please. But aside from that, we're going to think, if we have to look at ourselves, because we all very much think more about ourselves than anyone else most often. So if ever you think someone's judging you, they're probably not even thinking about you. Just remember that. So we're going to go into our own selves and understand why AI could potentially harm our future. Think about it in the sense of your mental capabilities and how those will help you become much more successful in the world. Even if you don't think you're smart, don't think that way. We talk about brainology. It's all about practice. The more you do a thing, the more you correct yourself to keep doing that thing the right way, the better you will get. So like, I just started going to the gym and I watched these videos and I'm like, oh, I've been doing that wrong the whole time. No wonder I wasn't getting the results I wanted, right? Because I didn't know. And okay, so I was doing it wrong. My bad. That's embarrassing. I wonder how many people were judging me at the gym. Nobody, because nobody's paying attention to me. But when now I go to the gym, I'm like, okay, let's see. How did they do it? That video. Okay, that's right. This is how I should do it. And then you keep doing it and you keep practicing. And the more you do it, the more, muscle or glutes or whatever you're going to get when you go to the gym. The same works for our brain. Obviously, it is a muscle. All right. The problem with using AI, unfortunately, it literally turns our brain to mushy poo. It creates a lack of retention because we're passively learning, and like we type in the information, it gives it to us, we copy and we paste it somewhere else. We didn't learn anything. The only thing we might have learned was the way in which we can ask the question to get the results that we wanted. And even then, we don't really remember it. We just keep, passively learning. Okay, so we're not remembering anything. We have a very hard time recalling information because we weren't asked, when we use AI, we weren't asked to recall it. We just asked it, we grabbed it, and then we took it. And we just bypassed our brain completely. So now we can't recall the information that we went from here to here. It didn't do anything for us. There is also cognitive decline that comes with it. Again, we're not using our brain, we're bypassing it, and we're just taking the information from one place to another. In fact, we're creating an inability to solve problems. I love puzzles. Over time, this is mindless too, but there's still a little bit of having to use my brain power there. All right, so when we do a cognitive offloading, again, we're never thinking from here to here. That's cognitive offloading. That's we have now not been able to solve the problem because we're having something else solve the problem for us. And then also, we now have lost critical thinking abilities. And that's the scariest part. That's the part that, for me, is the most frightening for anybody, because I want all of my students to have the power of critical thinking, where in which you look at something and you question it. You should always be questioning the thing that you get. We're going to talk about that in the article. Question it, look at it and go, how do I feel about this? What is my experience? What is research saying, right? That's our goal. Rather than passively taking information and sending it over, we want to look at that and go, I ain't it, right? And that's been a lot of the problem, is students will take information from, I don't know, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever, and then just hand it to me. And I'm like, what is this? And I have to ask them, like, where did you get this information? I don't really have an answer, because unfortunately it pulled from something that was pulling from a lot of some things, but didn't really hone into what we're looking at in the assignment or whatever the case may be. Also, AI creates mental health, issues, and it impacts mental health. Let's just say that. And that comes from many different things. Also, mental health comes from many other things too. So it's not all wholly AI. We get that. But it doesn't help, unfortunately. And again, oftentimes it is used unethically. It is using someone else's information rather than your own to have an answer. So when you use it in my class, it's unethical. All right, which also gives me the absolute right to give you a big old fat 0. Okay, so if it comes through and I'm like, I just don't have the time or the capacity to grade a machine's work, I'm going to pass it on through without an option to redo. So don't even bother. Okay. And last but not least, the most important part of what I'm trying to express is that it expunges humanity in arts and writing. Okay, it takes away the humanity. It takes and it creates something that feels very gross when you read it. You're like, oh, it won't feel right, because it doesn't have your flavor. It doesn't have your identity. It lacks human individuality. I want the individual. I want that in your work. Okay. And I'm not talking individuality like misspelling. Like, we can fix misspellings. We have spell check. I know that's like a level of AI, but spell check, that's just common sense. Like, clean up your work before you turn it in. Okay, that's different than your own words written in your voice, as it were. We're not going to talk too much about voice here, but the way in which you want to communicate something. Okay. Also, it abandons the emotional complications and idiosyncrasies of communication, the pieces that make humanity and humans so uniquely beautiful. Okay. And again, I get that AI as a tool is its own thing. It's totally fine. But, and again, the reason why I'm doing all of this is purely because I want you to understand why. As we're going through the class, identity and composition and, our values and our fears and all these things, like, I want us to dive deep into like what makes us human beings. Just because, one, it's kind of fun, and I love to see the work that I get from it, right? Because you're just telling it like it is from your experience, right? And last but not least, let's kind of take a little sinister look at it. And the reality is when we look at past regimes and, whether it's other countries, we could use, Nazi Germany as a main example here, where in which the goal of people in power, I guess you would say, is to have an ignorant, I don't know what you would call it, peoples within whatever they're trying to, take power over, whether it's a social circle or economically or politically or even at work, right? Like, those in power oftentimes like the idea of suppressing those beneath them. And how do you suppress people? You just take away the education. That is a legitimate scientific thing, where in order to suppress, you take away education, you take away people's abilities to think for themselves. Because if people have to think for themselves, they're going to start questioning. They're going to question your motives, if you're the one in power, or the motives of the people in power, to some point where they go, that's not right. Because they start to recognize whether it's inequalities or, toxic work environments, whatever the case is, right? So always educate yourself because that's going to always give you a leg up. That's why, critical thinking is so important, and why I push so hard, because it's for your success in the future. We think about also the tech companies that are out there right now really pushing hard for the menial jobs to be taken by AI. But the problem with that is, I recall I have to learn soft skills, and those come from working in restaurants and working as a cashier, working in customer service or an office job, whatever the case may be. I'm getting experience in these quote unquote menial jobs, and they're also paying my bills. Well, if you don't have those opportunities and you're trying to get somewhere and you're trying to be successful, but they're not hiring because you don't have those skills because something's in the way, AI or whatever the case may be, it's another way of keeping people down. It's another form of inequality, or whatever the case may be. This all sounds very conspiracy. That's not the point. That's not the goal. The goal is recognizing how people in power try and take away the opportunities for people. And this is why I push against things that get in the way of people's, opportunities for success in any capacity, right? So these are just things that you want to consider, and why maybe it's not the best future for us or for all peoples or even you, right? Maybe you don't get the opportunity to have that job opportunity, like internships or something, internships where you get certain experiences because some other, person has it, or maybe a machine engineer, whatever the case may be. You want to be mindful of the fact that education and experience is very important for your success. So you always want to look for the opportunities out there that will help you in some capacity. And that's why you're taking this class, because I'm here to help you, okay? And I know I might sound like I'm just going off the deep end here, but I promise you I have a rhyme and a reason for absolutely every single thing I do in class, even if it sounds like I'm going off on some tangent, okay? Anyway, point here being that we can look at things that are given to us and go, wow, this gives me some really cool opportunities. It makes this easier, makes this easier, it makes this easier. But then we also have to consider how sometimes something easier might have more consequences, and having it might not be worth the damage that it creates. And this could be anything. AI is just something I'm using as an example, but you could use anything in that capacity, right? Too much of one thing without recognizing how it can have an impact on you, on the world around you, your future, etc., right? We just have to be mindful of these things. And so that's why in this particular class, I'm pushing to make sure that we recognize the importance of human in composition. So that way you can always be able to critically think for yourself and trust your instincts when it comes to doing research and to paying attention to things that come around you. And also because it feels good to read work from somebody who's experienced it, right? We like the human in humanity. Just again, this class is not for just checking a box to say that we did it. My hope is the ultimate goal here is for you to break away from the things that have held you back, right? Whether it was, fear of failure, or fear that you aren't good enough, and none of those are the case. You are wildly capable. Like, you're in my class. The fact that you got here tells me you are capable. And then to be successful in the class, you have to do the work. You have to do the work, okay? So in this class, if we're going to compare fixed mindset and growth mindset to this article, think of it as in a fixed mindset would be, one, I'm going to get it wrong, so I might as well just use a machine so I don't have to do it. Or maybe you're just, I hate to say the word lazy, but maybe just lazy and like, I don't know, I have all the time and I just don't want to. Right? That's this fixed mindset of your lack of capabilities, which is a lie. You have the capabilities. The growth mindset about all of this is recognizing that while your first attempt maybe wasn't the best or didn't get the outcome that you wanted, you're trusting the fact that it will get better because you will continue to do the thing. Like going to the gym, right? If you go and you're doing the lifts wrong, you're like, what's going on? How come it's not working? And then someone shows you like, hey, try it like this. And you go, oh, okay. And then you remember to do it. You're creating the muscle memory. You're creating the right way to do it so that you can get the results that are beneficial to you. I know that was all very vague, but you get the idea. All right. So real quick, to get to the article that you were going to be uploading your assignment to, something that I want you to recognize is it is an opinion piece. It is definitely an opinion piece. Opinion pieces are opinions. Everyone's got one, you know, much like an asshole, right? Everyone's got one, they all stink. Okay, so that's understood when we read this. So at this point, I'll be honest, I'm not looking for opinions on how you feel about the article. The article is its own opinion piece. What we're looking to do is practice. The whole goal of using this is practice in writing with your hand. There is research, you're going to see it in your free writes when you go through a free write, you know, the importance of writing. I do it all the time. In fact, I write down like this pages. This is what I do for class. Like I think it, I write it all down, then I type it all up. Okay. I do that because that's the way my brain knows how to hold on to information, by using my hands. So anyway, reason why I say that is for the article on the, for your response to the article and begging you never write with AI. The whole goal here is just being able to read something and pull information from. That's what we're doing there. We're not trying to find, you know, what we all feel about this article. And again, caveat, I recognize the fact that the author is pulling from a neuroscientist, who is pulling information from standardized testing. And don't get me started on the biases of standardized testing. I already know that. And that we can always say, okay, there's always a biases. But if we look at from across the board, the change in these results from the standardized tests, it's looking more like, unfortunately, as we go through, it's creating kind of a dumber generation, which is shocking because we have so much information that comes to us from everywhere. But the problem is, one, maybe too much information and too much, you know, we scroll, we don't pause, we don't take in the information, and we don't interact with the information. And so the goal with the AI article is to get you into the work and pull things out of it. And that's why I have you do it with handwriting and drawing of pictures and finishing sentences. It's to get involved into the work. And it might seem mindless, but the goal is not mindlessness. It's the consistency. It's the constant writing. This is why we have you do free writes, to get your juices flowing. Okay, so anyway, I give you all the instructions on that particular assignment, so it should be pretty easy. You can always message me if you have questions. I'm always here if you have questions. And just trust the process and everything that we do, that the goal is for your success, mentally, emotionally, whatever the case, whatever I can pull from and for you, for your success is my goal. And again, there's some things you might have a big opinion on. I get it. Not always do we need to go down that road. But some places I will have you do that, right? So we're trying to get a plethora of all the things that we can kind of hone into, because we're trying to get into the crevices of our mind to maybe wake up things we didn't know were there, okay? Sometimes it's hard and we might struggle. And we might get headaches from having to put the pieces together. That's okay. That's your brain thinking. And the more you do it, the more it starts to create the muscle and start to understand. So anyway, I know this was long. I hope you got through it. Please take a look at the questions after this and message me if you have any. Okay, thank you. Bye.